know, standing out in Hollywood can be difficult unless you're Tim Robbins, and I'm not just saying that because the dude is 6'5". I'm talking Tim Robbins, the Oscar-winning actor, Oscar-nominated director, and perhaps one of the most outspoken activists in that place they call Tinseltown.
Let's get him out of office!
Anti-Bush, anti-war, pro-environment, and pro-underdog. Actually, Tim has become known as much for his politics as he is for his art. Tim grew up in New York's Greenwich Village in the 60s and 70s, and Tim started acting as a kid. Eventually, he studied theater at UCLA, and by 1981, he and some pals had found an avant-garde theater troupe called the Actors Gang. Their motto, dare to be stupid. Funny enough, playing stupid is what made Tim famous.
Yeah!
The year was 1988, the movie was Bull Durham, and the role, hello, Nuke LaLoosh.
Underwear feels kind of sexy. Don't make me queer, right? Right.
Bull Durham actually also had a big role in Tim's private life because on the set, Tim struck up a romance with Kevin Costner. No, I'm kidding. Here's where he met Susan Sarandon, and the two have been together ever since. Next up, Tim played a haunted Vietnam vet in Jacob's Ladder, a slimy movie exec in Robert Altman's brilliant film The Player, and from there, Tim moved into the director's seat. He made and starred in Bob Roberts, a satire about a right-wing folk-singing political candidate. From there, he directed the death row drama Dead Man Walking. That's the one that got him the Oscar nomination, and along the way, well, Tim kept acting. He's done some amazing work. Shawshank Redemption, anyone?
Why'd you do it?
I'm innocent, Red. Just like everybody else here.
And, of course, his Oscar-winning role as a child abuse survivor in Clint Eastwood's Mystic River.
You know what I mean. If you got that car instead of me.
Tim's got a new picture now. He's starring in a film called The Lucky Ones, and it's about 3 soldiers home on leave who end up on an impromptu road trip.
I'm not gonna kill myself, and I don't need your guitar.
All right, what are you gonna do then?
I'm gonna skip Salt Lake. I'm gonna go to Vegas with you guys. I'm gonna borrow some money off my credit card, and I'm gonna turn it into $20,000.
Are you gonna play poker?
No, I was thinking roulette.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Robbins. Good to see you, man. Welcome to the show. Thanks. Nice to see you. It's interesting because you hear people talking about this new movie of yours, and they're calling it a war film, but I don't think it is. I think it's a soldier film, or the guys back home who happen to be soldiers. Is it a war film in any way to you?
For me, when I read the script, it was a story about 3 strangers who find their way into the same minivan and travel across country together through a series of circumstances that wind them up in that situation. And for me, it was more about the notion of survival and the notion of humanity and what happens when people come back from a situation like that. What I loved about the script was that they didn't really talk about the war. It's more about who they are as people and how they're going to survive.
They could have been firefighters, they could have been cops. It was just sort of the day, right?
Well, yes, and the humor in it is that they really don't belong in the minivan together. Yeah. They're 3 completely different individuals. And they find a common bond, they find a way to survive with each other and be there for each other, and it's quite moving, I think.
I wonder if you ever look back on Bob Roberts and said, my God, today that's a documentary.
Well, you know, I always appreciate coming up to Canada because Bob Roberts is a much bigger film up here than it is down in my country. And I actually tried to get them to re-release it this year because it's so relevant and it could have been done yesterday. I screened it at a university a couple years ago and they were freaked out by it. They were like, when did you make this film? So I'm glad it survives the test of time.
If you ever have a chance, you accidentally stumble on your IMDb page and you start to look at the movies you've done, it's quite a catalog.
Yeah, I've been very lucky. You know, I've been very lucky, and part of that was my own doing, and part of that was the kinds of people that came to me. You know, Robert Altman was one in particular that had a profound influence on me. I think that happened because very early on, after Bull Durham came out, I got a lot of scripts of kind of doltish
the Nuke LaLoosh character.
Meatheads, yeah. And I could have made a lot of money doing doltish meatheads the rest of my life, but I felt like that was just a character, and I wanted to try different kinds of things. And I've been very lucky to be able to have so many different kinds of movies and different kinds of characters.
Well, didn't Robert Altman give you the job when people were telling him not to? Like because you were very outspoken about politics, that part of your life, and
you know, one question I get sometimes is do you feel like you're expressing your opinion has had an effect on your career? And I have to say, honestly, it's had a positive effect on my career, because I don't think Robert Altman would have ever wanted to meet me had I not been who I was. And those kinds of people, it's a real gift to be able to have those kinds of people in my life. I've had tremendous friendships with some pretty extraordinary people that have, or I think, are a direct result of the kinds of choices I've made.
Do you look at your catalog, or do you look at what you do and say, I'm missing this, I'd like to try something?
Yeah, I just finished recording, so
wow.
I've got a CD on the horizon somewhere. But I'm thinking I'll just release it on vinyl. What do you think?
You should do that. That would be old school, man. Fancy yourself a singer, do you, Tim?
Yeah, well, that's, we'll see, we'll see.
Did you actually record, or you pulled on my leg?
No, I
really?
didn't, yeah.
What kind of songs?
My songs. I've been writing songs for the last 20 years.
No, I know. I and Bob Roberts, I saw the songs, but is it what's the genre of them? Are they folk songs?
I would say they're kind of a mix of folk and rock, and the instrumentation is kind of folk-based, yeah.
I mean, that's like full circle for you, isn't it? Didn't you grow up in a folk club?
Well, my dad was a folk musician, and I think at some point you have to take on the mantle of your father's profession. So,
yeah. It's a big moment when you realize that your dad has another impact in your life that you perhaps didn't see coming.
Well, yes, and as everyone's parents do. It's been something I've been avoiding doing because of the kind of label of that, and another actor does an album, and I might call the album Another Actor Does an Album, but I feel like I've got some pretty good songs, so I want to share them at some point.
Go back to what was the club called? The Gaslight thing?
The Gaslight.
The Gaslight, right. That you worked at. Did you answer phones there when you were like?
I answered phones. I did a little help with the reservation desk.
But players came in, like real players came in the place. Pryor ever?
Richard Pryor. I snuck in and saw Richard Pryor, I think when I was maybe 11 or 12, and my father found me, grabbed me by the scruff.
Boy, I imagine
you're not watching this.
I bet you learned new words at that show, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw some great musicians when I was very young, yeah.
When if you ever sit home, watch TV and flip through the channels, I would imagine you watching actors today being outspoken is kind of like Public Enemy watching a hip-hopper today. When you watch a young actor protest against the president, you're like, old school. I went after Bush 1. You were one of the few public people who was very outspoken back then.
Yeah, and I remain that way. I didn't feel like I should change who I was because I got famous. And I'm always proud to hear other people speak out. I think that's something to celebrate in a democracy, not to react with consternation about. And certainly there's been a kind of a brilliant strategy of intimidation over the years that has kept actors and people in the public eye from speaking out. And I hope that goes away, because I want to hear everyone's opinion. I think everyone has a right to their opinion.
You must be getting a kick out of what's going on politically in the States now.
Kick?
Yeah, well, a kick out of it, if you will.
Well, we'll see if I get a kick out of it or it kicks me.
Yeah.
We'll see.
You've got on any other day, it's historical. First woman, a potential vice president, first African American potential president. Like it's a very different place than it would have been 30 years ago. But that's how it seems on the surface. Is it a different place right now?
The United States?
Yeah, politically.
Well, I think I have a unique perspective on this, because being recognizable and being someone that came out against the war early on, and being someone that was attacked in the press, called a traitor, a Saddam lover, terrorist supporter, an attempt to marginalize who I was. My experience has been, since then, being out and about without any kind of bodyguards or entourage, I've been very impressed with the American people and moved. Because wherever I go, regardless of where it is, whether it's home in New York or on the road in southern Illinois or in Missouri or Colorado or Las Vegas or San Antonio, Texas, That Yahoo that is supposed to be out there, I haven't seen him, and I'm a recognizable person. I would think that that kind of person would say something rude to me.
You're a big dude, man. You're tall.
Well,
They're scared.
But I haven't. My point is that I haven't had that experience. My experience has been the opposite. My experience has been across the country, regardless of where you are, rural or urban areas. There is a lot of support out there for people like me, people that have my kinds of opinions. And even if they don't necessarily agree, they're mature and adult enough and understand their democracy enough to understand that it's absolutely essential that people have the right to speak out.
Sure.
And so I've been very impressed by that. So it's given me the impression that that voice, although it's loud and they possess a huge megaphone to express that intimidation, they are a very, very small minority.
Last time I was in New York City, I was just walking down the street, minding my own business, and as an avid hockey worshiper, that's my God, I stumbled upon this 2 courts behind fences, behind cages. And one court was a basketball court where I think a high school girls game was going on, and the other court was these dudes just playing roller hockey. And one guy, tall guy, went Bobby Orr, end to end, right, on his rollerblades. And I had a moment I went, geez, that really looks like Tim, that's because it is Tim Robbins. And you were just scrambling around, just playing roller hockey. Is that
Did
a regular?
I score?
Yeah, you actually did score, yes. You know? You did score. But it was one of those moments where I thought, wow. I mean, I know you're just a dude like anybody else is, but you were just playing roller hockey like anybody out there. Is that a regular thing for you?
Yeah, it's a great game. There are really good players in it. And it's a good sweat and beautiful day in New York City.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No Sean Avery for you on the Rangers this year. Avery's coming up on our show. What's big hopes for the Rangers?
I guess we'll have to see.
We will.
I suppose we got younger and faster. That's what they tell us.
Yeah. And less expensive. Are you one of those hockey fans that'll yell when you're at the game?
Well, yeah.
Yeah? Your wife is telling you to your kids, don't be like your dad.
No, she yells too.
She's like that too?
Yeah, she's become quite the hockey fan, yeah.
It's amazing. Thanks for coming in, man.
My pleasure.
It's really good to see you again. Right on. Tim Robbins. The film is called The Lucky Ones. It's actually a really funny movie. It's in the theater September the 26th. Stick around. Ricky Gervais is coming up.